Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Maggie. I am a mother of three, a full-time employee, and a DIYer slash declutterer at heart. Here, what you are seeing is the state of my closet before this huge transformation. And this is almost a decade's worth of things that we have accumulated through our lives. Between having a newborn and losing a job during COVID, starting a business, climbing the corporate ladder, this has just been the accumulation and the personification of the chaos that we have been experiencing. And I decided that enough was enough and this needed to be fixed because, as you can see, it was impossible to keep clean or to put stuff away in because we just didn't have space. And so after taking everything out, I had a whole adventure that you are seeing, but of course it starts with taking everything out and starting from scratch. So obviously the first thing that I had to do was take all of the little brackets and shelves and pieces off of the walls to start with the closet build. My father-in-law gave me a little bit of a lesson on how to remove the pieces of wood off of the wall as well as the pieces of trim because I had never done it before, and I was able to successfully complete my first removal of trim and pieces of wood off the wall without messing it up too much. Then we headed out to the hardware store to get all of the supplies. Just believe this was not the first or only time. This was one out of many times that we went to the hardware store. Then when we got back, my father-in-law went to work on fixing the drywall bits because I was going to be painting the closet at the end of everything. And there were obviously holes from all of the screws that were in the walls. He did such a good job, and I didn't even have a chance to try how to do that much. Then cleaned it up and started on building the base of the closet. This is just to make sure that it is off of the floor a little bit and looks a little bit quote unquote fancier. I don't know, you'll be the judge when you get to the end of this video and let me know if this is fancy to you. Obviously it doesn't look fancy in this shot, it's just pieces of wood on the floor that I'm screwing together. But you know, all of the little steps and all of the pieces really do end up making a huge difference. And here's the finished product of on the floor. Then I secured the base to the studs because I just want to make sure that this thing is not going anywhere. Then my father-in-law and husband put one of the bases in and we secured it with some brad nails. I did not have a shot of where we added the other two pieces. As you can see, there's missing pieces on the edges, but we put those in and also secured them the same exact way to have a base. Then I was cutting some plywood, and this was just 1/2 inch plywood pieces that I was cutting down to the size of the wall that I needed to start with the shell of the closet. And there was a lot of cutting in this project. There was a lot of cutting. I felt like I was cutting every single day. And then struggling to go up the stairs and into my bedroom where it was a hot mess. And it's still not quite finished, but much better. I proceeded to secure the pieces of wood to the studs in the wall, and all was going pretty swimmingly, pretty straightforward. I felt like I knew what I was doing. I felt strong. I felt powerful. I felt like a woman hear me roar. And then I realized that something was just not quite right. I just did all that work screwing these panels into the into the studs, right? So here, the stud, these are the studs. I'm screwing them in here, and I'm getting to my 5th panel, and I realized, how am I going to screw in the top? I was supposed to make some pocket hole screws or holes on the top, so that way I can just put it across. Well, now I can't put it across because I don't have pocket holes, so I may have to undo that, put pocket holes in there, and then screw it back in, unless there's another way I can do this. Let me see what I'm gonna do. Oh, total noob. But I guess I'll learn from this for my next build or whatever. So let me see what happens. I'm annoyed. I decided to move forward and screwed in the rest of the panels, and then fought with this top panel for so long. It was ridiculously difficult, but eventually figured it out after cutting it like 3 times down to size to make it fit into that tight space. So I'm about to use these little corner brackets in the corners just to screw this in. I don't think it's going anywhere, but this is more of a security thing just to make sure it doesn't go anywhere. So I'm just gonna put these because I didn't do pocket holes and whatnot. I didn't wanna do it all up there. I didn't think about it. So I'm gonna put those in, but before I do, I'm gonna make sure that the panels that I need to put in here actually fit. I'm a little scared because that was a struggle. So let's try that first. Oh my God, it fits. And then I proceeded to just put in those corner brackets, which they were very difficult to put in. I don't know if it's the ones that I purchased or it's just me, but those screws were horrible. Then I proceeded to practice some pocket hole screwing just to make sure that I knew how to do it, because I had never done it before. So just wanted to make sure I knew how to do it with some scrap wood, and then felt pretty confident, went ahead with the first panel of wood, flipped over the piece and did the pocket holes on the other side, measured the space, used the pocket hole jig to kind of tell me where I needed to be, and proceeded to screw in the piece. So here is where I run into a problem, and I wish I had had the forethought on this as well. I just didn't think this was going to be a big deal. I measured to make sure that this piece of wood fit into it, right? Well, yes, but I measured that same, I guess, depth, but I couldn't get the second piece of plywood that's supposed to live right next to it in there. I just could not. I tried to force it in there, but I'm not that strong. So then decided I just needed to unscrew it, undo everything, and do it again. I did learn from this on the other side. My closet is a square, and so I was doing exactly the same thing on one side that I was doing on the other. And so on the other side, I knew not to do this and just to screw them in together, which made it very much more difficult, but it was doable. Used a leveler just to make sure that everything was level before I screwed it in. And once you screw in one side, it was much easier to keep it up there just with one of those pocket hole screws, or pocket screws, I guess. So secured it, easy peasy. So much easier. This one literally took me, I'm at 48 seconds. The other one, I was struggling a lot. This was much better, so yay, I'm learning. Just to show what I just did, I measured over here how much space I needed for clothes to actually be able to hang, because it's a little tight. This wood piece is just too tight. The hangers are 18 inches across, so this is a little extra, but in order to get this done, I put this temporary piece of wood across so I can, since I'm doing this on my own, I screwed this piece of panel into the wood. I'm gonna do the same thing on the other side right now with this piece of wood right here, and then I'm gonna cut down the top. That way the top has something to sit across and it's all flush and whatnot. And then we'll start building the boxes. And of course, because I said that I was doing this on my own, my husband, I must have heard me and my struggle and came out to help me, or came in to help me put that in. Then the next day, and you can tell that it's the next day because, well, I'm wearing different clothes. I started with building the shelves. I cut them down to size. I screwed them into the wall, into the plywood, and then into the plywood on the other side. And this was, I would not want to say the start of the closet, but this is when it started actually looking a little bit more together than just a bunch of pieces of plywood that were just standing up. However, there's another mistake that I made, and I'm not sure if I just cut that shelf too short or what, but that whole section right there shifted, and you can see the big gap between the two pieces of plywood that I was trying to fix here because that just wasn't good. It's still a gap, but it's a little bit better. So I'm going to see if cutting shelves right here is going to push this a little bit this way so it's more flush. Same with this side. The shelves should push this way and keep it flush. And here I was putting some metal plates that I found on Amazon that had 5 screws on each side that then connected the piece in the middle with the pieces on the side. Again, just to make sure that this was actually 3 screws. I'm sorry, not 5. It's 3 screws on each side, just to make this more sturdy and connected because I didn't have that middle piece connected to the other sides. Oh my god, this is so hard. And as you can see, I was struggling. The drill, I don't know if it was just the drill or just pre-drilling or the whole, like, just being in that position. This whole project made my hands hurt a whole lot. I really enjoyed doing this, honestly, but it was very difficult. It was not as easy as I thought it was going to be. Well, then here I am putting the shelves on one of the sides of the closet. I was in this weird position. It was very difficult to do this, and this is the reason why I decided not to do pocket holes further down in a different area of the closet. On my side, I also learned to just cut down a piece of plywood, 2 pieces of plywood, to use them to hold up the shelf, so I didn't have to like balance it and try to figure out how to hold it up. And it just made life so much easier to just put it up there, put the level on, make sure everything was good, and bam, just screw it in with the pocket holes, and just things just went much faster once I did that versus doing it free-handed. And here where I didn't do pocket holes. This was way too tight. It was going to take me forever. Then the other thing that I had to fix because of our primitive setup was these edges. I don't know if you can tell, but it was kind of wavy. It wasn't flush. The 2 pieces weren't flush together. And I was afraid that when I was coming to the end of the project, when I was going to put the trim on there, it was just going to be very, very wavy. And I wanted to make sure that this was not wavy. I didn't want it to look like I DIY'd it. It still probably does, but I try to make as little mistakes as possible. My husband helped shave some of this down as well. This was very difficult too. everything was difficult. Then I decided, even though I had pocket holes in there, that I was going to put some screws in here because I still had that gap between the two pieces of plywood. And as I was putting the screws in, you can see that the gap was closing. Then, because we had some really horrible weather over this time frame, I had to cut down some more wood, but I couldn't because it was raining and thundering and all the things. And so I started with the trim. And I had no idea what I was doing with this box trim cutter. Please watch some videos before you start an attempt to do it, because I did not, and I was struggling until I figured out how to do it. Crazy. Just watch a YouTube video. And more mistakes were made. I should not have put this in before the crown molding. I just didn't. I thought about it, but I went ahead anyways. And also another mistake, this was way too tight for the gun to go into, so I had to do it manually. I want to share what I'm doing here just in case anyone else is interested and curious. So up until now, I've been cutting these shelves free-handed. And while it's been okay-ish, it hasn't been the perfect square cut. So what I've done now is I literally just took a piece of plywood, like an offcut, and it's a pretty straight edge. So I'm just using that to cut the shelves now. And it's much easier to do it. Now I'm just placing this down. I'm not clamping it down, and it's working fine. And then to find the distance between the blade and the plywood, what I am using, yes, you could go the traditional route and use one of these, but I was struggling. So what I did is I took the pencil, and you see where there's a number 2 right there? I'm just making sure that it's lining up across the board, like it's pretty even all the way down. So just number 2. That's what I'm looking for, and it's pretty good, and it's working out. So if your brain is crazy and just the measuring tape is too much, that's what's working for me. As I mentioned, there was a lot of cutting during this project, a lot of cutting in my backyard, a lot of cutting everywhere, but this definitely saved a whole lot of time. I don't know why I didn't think about this before, probably because I had never done this before, so how would I? And again, putting shelves in just with the screws on the side. And initially I had also started like measuring and trying to be precise. Nope, gave that up real quick. Then came more trim. This was so much fun. I learned a lot with the trim as well. I put the nail on the top and it came through and out here, like there was a big giant thing that I was able to cut off, but now I have this. I'm gonna try to, I'm not sure what I should do. How do I get it out? No. No. Ow. I stepped funny. After I hurt myself, I went ahead and put the crown molding in and had to cut another tiny little piece to put into that corner. I just had it by like 1/4 of an inch short, which was sad but it looks really nice now that I have it caulked and painted and everything. It looks nice. You can tell a little bit, but it doesn't look that bad. Then my husband came to my rescue and put in the rest of the corner brackets because I just could not. My fingers were killing me. My hands were killing me. I could not do that. He finished them all, and then I put in some caulk saver into the big cracks.
Hold it with one hand, sister.
Okay. Ugh.
Here's the closet professionally.
I had filled some of the holes or a lot of the holes with wood filler, and so started sanding that off to prepare this closet for painting. Lots of dust, vacuumed it up, wiped it down, and then masked off the floor to start painting. I did buy a airless sprayer off of Amazon. It was like $50 that I was using in this closet. It worked well, but it was very messy. So I don't know. Recommend it if you know what you're doing. Even if you don't know what you're doing, I think I did pretty well, but it was not as easy as I thought it was going to be. That's the recurring theme here. I didn't think it was going to be as hard as it was. Spray painting online, it made it people make it seem like this is just the easiest thing in the world. You just go in there, boom, 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 and it's just gonna be all painted. No, no, it's not. It's not that easy. This is the final look of the closet, and I ended up ripping this onesie. I don't know what these are called. Paint outfit. I ended up ripping it. I stepped funny, and it just split in half. So yay. And here I was testing out the sprayer on the wall just to make sure that it was spraying the right way. I had never spray painted before, but here I went. I don't have a lot of shots of this because it got messy real quick, really, really quickly. And it smelled so bad, even though I had a mask on. Yeah, it wasn't pretty. And I was only able to do a little bit of it. And the next day, I decided I wasn't going to spray because it was just very thick and gloopy and difficult to spray paint. And so I decided I was going to try my hand at rolling and painting it on instead. It went pretty fast. I am happy with the way that it turned out, and I liked this part of it too. I feel like the spray painting was nice coverage, but the rolling was more, how would you say it? Maybe more satisfying to do. It just got me into a zen state, and I just went and painted the whole thing. I should have worn different clothes, different problem. I didn't think it was going to be as messy as it was. And here I am on a third day painting yet again. It never ends because I don't have a lot of time. I don't have a ton of time. Even during the summer, the kids were busy, the dinner had to be done, etc. Once everything was painted and dried off, I had to go in and sand everything smooth because the grain of the wood was raised. I bought the nice plywood, the sanded plywood, so it was really smooth beforehand. And once everything was painted, it was just really rough to the touch. So I just put my hand like that across the wood just to see where it was still rough and bumpy, and sanded in those spots. Didn't take very long, probably 15-20 minutes. Then vacuumed everything, got all the gunk out, and then proceeded to caulk. And this made the biggest difference in how everything looked. Up until then, it still kind of looked choppy, and some of the holes, as you can see, were pretty large. Even with caulk saver, like I had to really go in there with the caulking gun to make sure that everything was filled in and nice and seamless looking. But again, mistakes were made, and it didn't end up being perfect, but it's okay. Then my husband helped me with getting paint into the paint sprayer because I just am a messy person. I just didn't want to make a mess. And honestly, this little filter made it so much easier. I was able to do this myself in there once I was in behind the closed door, spray painting everything. This paint went on really well. It was pretty easy compared to the primer. The primer was much thicker, just very viscous, and it was just trickier. And again, this is the final view before, and I didn't have any footage from within the capsule of the wardrobe because it just was messy. But here was the after, and wow, I was so happy that this was done. It took me a good 45 minutes to an hour to spray paint this. I went slow and steady, trying to make sure that everything was covered nicely, and it was good. It was difficult. My goggles got really fogged up. I could not breathe very well, even with a mask. I think I should have had a fan or something in there to get the fumes out, but towards the end I was struggling, and so I had to get the heck out of there. I realized as I was watching the paint dry, literally, I don't know if you can tell on camera, but in real life, in the caulk lines, there you go, you can see that a little bit. There are small, tiny little cracks going up and down. And I'm honestly not sure if this is paint related. I did use bare cabinet trim and door paint, or if this is related to the caulk. I caulked this a few days before I painted. Like this one was a whole day before. And then this right here, I caulked day of painting. So it cracked in various different spots. Though after consulting with my husband, we decided it didn't really matter. This is not a bathroom. We don't care about humidity going back there or anything else. So we decided, since clothes are going to be covering it up anyways, to move forward with installing the closet rod holders, as well as installing the rods and moving on, because we needed our bedroom back and it just was time to finish this thing. Just a quick little update on the closet. I painted last Sunday, today is Friday, and I've been going back and forth on whether I should paint or not. And as I'm installing the rods, I noticed, and it's very faint, I hope you can see it, this line right here. I've been going back and forth on whether I should paint a second coat or not. And after seeing this, like there's a couple of different lines, like there's one right there. They're hard to see, but now I'm being nitpicky and I'm like, okay, if this is happening just from installing some rods and putting a drill down, I would be pissed off if I was actually putting clothes on here or shoes in there, and it was all smudged and crazy looking. Now it's possible, the paint does say it takes about 7 days to cure. It's possible it just hasn't cured yet. But even so, I don't know that a second coat is going to hurt anything. So I'm just gonna quickly do a second coat, mainly on the shelves on the bottom here, because I see that there was some rough texture, and on these shoe racks. Everything else, like the walls and everything, should be fine. I'm sure it's going to take longer than what I'm anticipating, but let's do it. Sorry for the noise, but second coat for all high traffic areas has been put on. I should have really done this earlier this week, but I just really was hoping that it wasn't going to be a big deal until I saw the scratches over here, and I was like, no, I'm going to be so angry. All right, I'm ready.
You're ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, I promise you. So
Wow. Honestly, removing that door felt so good. I loved the way that everything looked without the door. Then my husband helped me put in a new light fixture that I purchased that I really loved, with some green glass, and yeah, it was probably 15-20 minutes and he had it up there. It didn't take too long at all. I'm sure if I had tried it, it would have taken much longer because I have no idea what I'm doing. It probably would have been 7 weeks later that the light fixture would have been up. Maybe not. There's videos, but still, this seems a little bit more intimidating.
That's cool. $300, please.
High five instead. Then came removing the paper, the tape, and just getting rid of all the dusty, crusty stuff, and then putting in my clothes. This was such a crazy long project. Total time from start to end, it took me about 7 weeks, including taking everything out. And let's just take it full circle. This is what the closet looked like before I took anything out of the closet. It was overstuffed. It had lots of memories, lots of things we weren't using that we couldn't fit into, that we didn't know what we had, between kid clothes and things that we were keeping for absolutely no reason. From this overwhelming situation to something that I think turned out gorgeous. This is it currently, with most of our things in there. Again, like I mentioned, my bedroom is still a mess, so definitely feel free to subscribe if you are interested in seeing what I do with the rest of the stuff that I have not put into the closet, how this comes together, and just in general how this keeps serving my family in the long run. I am super happy with how this turned out. I am really happy walking by this closet every day, and I hope you enjoyed this video. Hope you have a wonderful day, and I will see you in the next one.